questions, I mean, we are thinking, right? So if you have any questions, any doubts regarding your spiritual...
Surprise ourselves with the kind of insights that we come up with. But when we have to act, when we are provoked in some way, okay. Hare Krishna. Am I audible or it's difficult?
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So when we are provoked, sometimes we act in such stupid ways that we wonder, why did I do like that? So now the change is not so much in the externals but the internals. So can we go ahead? So I talked this in 3 parts. What is the internal change that is happening? So we have progressed, but what is the irony of progress? The importance of thoughts, I'll talk about that. The second part is about how thoughts grow. We'll analyze them in terms of 3 P's. And then lastly, I'll talk about how we can grow healthy thoughts. Then I'll analyze another 3 points, rep. So let's look at this. Go ahead. We have incredible progress in today's world, and yet we have extremely disturbing distress. We have today, even common people have comforts and luxuries that were unimaginable even for royalty a few hundred years ago. We have air conditioning, we have air travel, we have telecommunications. And yet, although we have... Okay, what is happening? Okay. Although we have so much progress, but still we have an enormous amount of distress, especially at the psychological level. Mental health problems are fast becoming the biggest problem in the world today. Even now, when there is so much spread of the coronavirus, a bigger problem is the panic, because of which rumors may spread and people may overreact. So we have technology by which we have controlled machines. But unfortunately, should I use this one? Is this better? Yeah, it seems. So we have controlled machines through technology, but our minds have become increasingly uncontrolled. And because of the uncontrolled minds, often we end up hurting ourselves. Go ahead. So, through technology, we have gained outer power. And outer power means we can fly, we can communicate with anyone, we can do so many things which we couldn't do earlier. But the more outer power we have, the more inner power we need. Otherwise, this outer power can be used to hurt ourselves and to hurt others. I was in America, I was giving a talk in the university, and I turned toward the PowerPoint to point out something, and I turned back, and there was nobody in the class. All the seats were empty. And then suddenly, the organizer of the program ran toward me, pulled me down, and pulled me under the desk where I was. Later on, we came to know that there was a alarm for an armed man who had entered into the university premises. So there was a shooter there, and because of that alarm, all the students knew about that alarm. That's why they ducked under the desks. And the organizer also asked me to duck under the desk. Of course, it turned out it was a false alarm. But the point is that this is a big scare, that if people have automatic guns and they have automatically triggered minds, a small provocation and they go wild, and they can cause enormous distress. It's not just that you can destroy others, We can destroy hundreds of others. And we can of course destroy ourselves. So with technology providing us outer power, the need for inner power has become even more. So broadly speaking, you could say that technology can provide us outer power. Power over the things in the outer world. It is spirituality that provides us inner power. Power over our own thoughts, so that we can channel them constructively. Go ahead. So basically now, how do thoughts grow? There are 3 steps in this. You just go to the next slide, come back to this. So basically the Bhagavad Gita is an ancient yoga text, and it offers us a model of the self. When we say our thoughts grow, where do they grow? How do they grow? All that, there's a model for it. That the model is 3 levels. There's the body, the mind, and the soul. So you can compare this to a computer system where the body is the hardware, the mind is the software, and the soul is the user. So now when thoughts, with this understanding, these 3 levels of the self, then let's look at how thoughts grow inside us. Can you go back? So basically, 3 things: perceive, process, and pursue. So whenever, right now we are sitting over here, so hundreds of stimuli come into our eyes, our ears, our nose. They come from outer world inside us, and we perceive them. And based on what we perceive, that's one source of thoughts for us. So if we are driving on the road and we see suddenly a child running in front of us, we need to perceive that and press the brakes. So this is the functional level, important source of our thoughts is our perception. And we could say perception happens at the level of the body. Through the bodily senses, we perceive things. Now, perception alone is not the source of thoughts. Because say right now, you are say hearing many sounds. You're hearing my talking, but you're also hearing some utensils behind. You might be hearing some vehicles moving around on the road. Actually, we don't necessarily focus on everything that we perceive. We select some things and we process them accordingly. So what we process or how we process causes thoughts to grow. That means that among the many stimuli that come in, some stimuli we focus on and then we process them. So that process, when we process some thoughts, we pay attention to some stimuli and thoughts corresponding with them grow further. And when we neglect some stimuli, those thoughts may be there but they die out. So this is, going back to the computer system, we could say that if the computer itself gives some notifications to us. Say the computer is connected to our home, and if somebody approaches, the door opens, or somebody knocks on the door, some security code they press it, then we get a notification. So that's perceived. But then there is the processing in the computer. And we may have set certain notifications to be off. So then those notifications won't pop up. Certain notifications will pop up. So there's the processing. That's the second part. So at the state of perceiving, the thoughts are more or less in the form of seeds. They're small. But when we process them, they start growing. And then, at the time of processing, we experience emotions. We put in our reason and our emotion, and that's how that's what we invest in the thoughts. And after that, we pursue. Now, pursuing is done by the consciousness, by the soul, by us. We at our core are souls. So somebody might come at our door, at the gate of our house, and they might press a code or they might press a bell, and our computer might give a notification. And then after that, depending on who is coming, we will respond accordingly. So, what we pursue. When we pursue something, that's the time when we have to focus on it. When we have to focus, the thought associated with that naturally grows further. So broadly speaking, the thoughts that we have, they grow through these three categories. What we perceive, how we process, and what we pursue. And these three things, if they are done constructively, then our thoughts will be healthy. And if these things are done haphazardly or destructively, then our thoughts will start working against us. So let's try to understand this further and see how these can be done positively. Go ahead. Go ahead. Behind please. You want to? Yeah. So when we perceive, we need to regulate what we perceive. The nature of our perception is that what we take in takes us in. That means when a thought comes in, it starts growing. So initially when we are taking in that thought, it is one stimuli coming inside. But as it keeps growing, it grows and consumes our consciousness. It completely occupies our attention. So one example of this could be addiction. Suppose somebody is an alcoholic. Now nobody is born from their mother's womb with a bottle of alcohol in their mouth. But sometime in their childhood, in their youth, in their adulthood, they started drinking indiscriminately. So they took in alcohol. But gradually it grows. Till a time comes when a person can't think of anything except alcohol. Some people are so addicted that right from the moment they wake up, the first thing they think, there is a bottle. And the last thing they do before sleeping is, they drink. And not only that, even in their dreams they may be drinking. So what has happened? What we take in, takes us in. Or another way to put it could be, whatever catches our attention, catches us. That when something catches our attention, slowly it starts zooming out. It's like, say you are working on your computer, doing some important work, and suddenly a notification comes up. Your friend has updated their Facebook profile photo. Hey, what is it? We click on it, and as soon as we click on it, it occupies the whole screen. And then we see that photo and we see, generally when we look at one photo, there are 10 other suggestions of photos. And then we might thought we are doing this for 1 minute, and we might spend several hours. So whatever catches our attention, catches us. So if we want to perceive in a healthy way, we need regulation. Regulation means, you go ahead next. The best way to deal with temptation is to not deal with temptation. We have hundreds of distractions in the world today, and with technology, the distractions have increased manifold. Just by clicking a few buttons, we can get any distraction from any part of the world. And because of that, we are hyper-stimulated constantly. So many thoughts go on inside us that we are not even aware of what we are thinking or even what we are doing. So at a physical level, it is important that we disconnect from the world and reconnect with ourselves. That we disconnect from the world and reconnect with ourselves. This update, this notification, this breaking news, we can get so caught in that we often worry more about staying in touch with the world than staying in touch with ourselves. Staying in touch with ourselves means our values, our purposes. What is it that truly matters for us? If we don't focus on that, then we will just be distracted and dissipated. So then we all, at our level, according to a situation, we can regulate our life. Regulate our living means maybe have some time in the day and just disconnect from your phone, disconnect from the whole world. Try to have a peaceful place in your home, which can be your sanctuary, where just calm yourself. On a physical level, when we decrease the sensory overload that is coming upon us, then we can process our thoughts. We can process our thoughts more properly. If there is too much coming in, then when we have too much to perceive, then we can't process properly. Suppose you are walking on a normal road and say somebody comes very close to you and tries to tuck their hands into your pocket and steal your wallet. You immediately notice, hey, you raise the alarm, you try to catch that person. But suppose you are in an extremely crowded place where everybody's body is already brushing against each other, splash. And at that time, somebody might put their hand in your pocket and steal your wallet, you will not even notice it. Why? Because there are already so many sensations and we are just barely trying to stand and not get knocked down and move in the direction that we want. At some touch, you might not even notice it. So if we have too many stimuli to perceive, then we can't process properly. And one reason our thoughts go haywire is, in today's world, we have too many stimuli. Now we all need stimulation. And there can be stimulation that pacifies and enriches, or there can be stimulation that agitates and impoverishes. So if you go to a natural place, if you go to a farm, if you go to a natural retreat, there are stimuli. You'll see the beautiful greenery, we may hear birds chirping, we may hear a stream flowing along. When we see that, that's also stimuli. But those stimuli calm us. The stimuli bring us closer to ourselves. So we need to regulate. It's not that we want to cut off the world, but we want to regulate the stimuli that come. And in general, it's been found that social media usage, especially among teenagers, the greater the social media usage, the lower the self-esteem becomes. The lower the mental health becomes. This could be many reasons, but one is there's too many stimuli. If somebody is always on Facebook looking at how good everyone looks or how happy everyone is. Now people generally portray their happiest moments on Facebook. And as compared to that, we might think, oh, my life is so boring. There's not much happiness in my life. And we start feeling sorry for ourselves. The people put their photos, often those photos are doctored, not necessarily doctored in a digital sense, but nobody is as happy as they seem to be on social media. So what happens is, we start comparing our lives with others and we start feeling unhappy. So to be happy is possible. To be happier than others is impossible. Because we always imagine that others are happier than what they are. So regulate. So if you want our thoughts to become healthy, first is regulate the stimuli that come in. So that we don't perceive too many things. And that we choose what we perceive. The ad industry today is a big cause of mental dissatisfaction. Because in every situation that we are in, we can look at the things that we have and be grateful. Or we can look at the things we don't have and we can be dissatisfied. Now suppose after this program there is some food. Well, there's no suppose, food is there. But suppose there's a special menu where everyone is going to get a separate dessert. And now I got a delicious dessert in my plate. But instead of enjoying the dessert in my plate, I look at what is in her plate. And what is in his plate. And what is in her plate. And what is in his plate. And what will happen? I won't be able to taste what I have at all. So, if I want to savor the delicacy in my plate, I need to regulate my perception, focus on what I have. So, the ad industry today, the corporate controlled media and ad industry especially, they specialize in showing us all the things we don't have. And because of that, we end up feeling dissatisfied. If we want our thoughts to not constantly keep us agitated and dissatisfied, we need to regulate what we see. I was in a university, we were talking in a university in India, and there was a student who had a slogan on his t-shirt. The slogan was that 90% of the world's women are beautiful. The remaining 10% are in my college. Now, what he meant by that was, now how does somebody know how 90% of the world's people look? But that perception is based on movies. We see movies, we see TV, and we see people looking the very best. As compared to that, what we will have in real life will never be good enough. So we need to regulate what we perceive and disconnect. Sometimes some stimuli that are agitating us, just put them on. The best way to deal with temptation is to not deal with it. You have some time and just put your phone on airplane mode, turn off and disconnect your computer. Just focus. That will calm the mind down. That's the first step. Second, go ahead. Then education. We talk about three things: perceive, process, perceive at the level of the body. So we talk about regulate that. The second is how we process. Now for processing, we need education. What is meant by education? Education about our inner world. By science and technology, it's amazing what we have discovered about the outer world. But it's equally amazing what we have forgotten about the inner world. But what we have forgotten, one of the things, the education that spiritual texts offer us is primarily about our inner world. And one point in that is, see, our thoughts have no power over us till we give them our thought. What I mean by this is that we can use the word thought in two different senses. One sense is, I just got a thought. That is, something like a thought popped up within us. And the second is, I have given this a lot of thought. That means I have paid conscious attention to this. So now in these two, the first might just pop up within us. So hundreds of thoughts can pop up within us, sometimes from external stimuli or sometimes just from our internal memory. When the thoughts pop up, they don't have power over us till we give them our thought, till we pay attention. Sometimes we might just feel irritated about something, we might be annoyed with someone. But that thought which is there, when we dwell on it, it starts growing. If we don't dwell on it, it will stay there for some time and it will go away on its own. So sometimes just the presence of a thought, we take it too seriously, we get agitated by it. But the thought can be there, we don't have to get agitated. The Bhagavad Gita says, there is a beautiful metaphor for this, that suppose there is a small puddle and then a river flows into the puddle. The whole water in the river will overflow and the surrounding area will get devastated. But instead of the puddle, there is an ocean over there. And the water from the river flows into the ocean. It will not be disturbed much. It will not be disturbed. Why? Because the ocean is so big. So our consciousness can sometimes be like a puddle or sometimes it can be like an ocean. What determines the size of our consciousness? It is our attachments. If we are attached to small things, then small upheavals can also disturb us. I was in Canada and a Sri Lankan young man met me after the class. I gave a similar talk on mine, and he said that he was an avid cricket fan. And around 2011, around that period, the Sri Lankan cricket team got into 3 World Cup finals, T20, the International World Cup, and another final. And thrice they lost. And when they lost the 3rd final, he said, one of my close friends, with whom I used to always watch matches, that friend committed suicide. Now, strangely enough, none of the cricket players committed suicide. What happened here? Okay, a match is a match. Why take it so seriously? But it's so attached to cricket that the loss of the match, the consciousness was like a puddle, the loss of the match was like a river coming in, it devastated everything around. So what we are attached to determines how much certain thoughts will affect us. So when we grow spiritually, spiritual growth essentially means expanding our consciousness so that we become attached to the infinite. So we were doing some kirtan right now. This is musical meditation, which actually links our consciousness with the infinite, with the unlimited reality. And as we grow spiritually, as our consciousness becomes more and more attached to the divine, the infinite, the unlimited, our consciousness starts becoming like an ocean. And then the rivers of worldly ups and downs will come, but they won't disturb us that much. So, when I said our thoughts have no power over us till we give them our thought. That means if some thought pops up, if we don't pay attention to it, because we have so much bigger things to focus on, then we won't be disturbed. Next. Yeah. So now, education for processing means that we need to place things in the most constructive context. When something happens, our mind can sometimes just make a mountain out of a molehill. Generally, whenever anything bad happens, we can see, okay, this bad thing is happening. Or with our mind's imagination, we can start thinking, oh, this bad thing happened to me. Yesterday that happened to me, neighborhood, yesterday that had happened to me. And like that, we can make it into a huge mountain. Today's problems are always manageable today. But when we pile up yesterday's problems and tomorrow's problems on top of today's problems, then it becomes unbearable. So, put things in the most constructive context means that if a particular thought is coming up, a particular situation is coming up, live in the present. What can I do about it right now? How does it affect me right now? What can I do about it? So if you think in this way, focus on the present. Generally, thoughts grow when they wildly go into the past or in the future. So if you place things in the proper context, then thoughts won't disturb us so much. So how we process? In fact, spiritual wisdom traditions often give us a lot of resources. I talk one about expanding our consciousness, second is living in the present. But there are many other resources by which we can process in a constructive way. Can you go ahead? Last, okay. So one principle is, with respect to education, is that bad things happen in life. But good can come out of the bad. Everything that happens may not be good, but good can come from everything that happens. The universe ultimately moves purposefully. Even when things break, we only see the things that are breaking, but nature often breaks things to make them better. Clouds look beautiful in the sky, but it's only when the clouds break that we get rains. Otherwise, we will be dying of thirst. The ground looks very attractive. When it is plowed, it doesn't look that attractive. It has to be broken, it has to be plowed. That's when you can have a harvest. Sometimes the grains, unless they are broken, we cannot make them edible. Sometimes you go to a hotel or you go to somebody's house who's very good at cooking and serving. Then they might have a beautiful plate, all the items arranged artistically. So when things break, we shouldn't just look at good can come out of the past. The universe out of the bad. The universe moves forward. So focus on the present, but you open up our future possibilities. That's about processing. Can you go ahead? Now, purification. So this last part about what we pursue. You want our thoughts to be constructive? What we pursue, if it is pure, then it can help us move forward. So the Gita says that we are all spiritual beings, we are all parts of a whole. We are finite consciousness, we are parts of the infinite consciousness. And when we act in harmony with the whole, then we act in a way that brings fulfillment to us. Can you go ahead? So what are we going to pursue in our life? The world tells us that happiness comes by collecting and consuming. Buy this, eat this, watch this. Now, all those things give pleasure, but it's very superficial pleasure. If you look at our own lives, the deepest fulfillment comes through connecting and contributing. When we connect with some other human being in a deep, meaningful way, that's when we feel a sublime kind of joy. And when we contribute, when our existence makes a difference to someone's life, when we feel that we are able to do something valuable, that brings a fulfillment that is far deeper than the titillation that may come by collecting and consuming. So, when we focus on connecting and contributing, not just connecting with the people around us, but connecting with our souls who's inside us, and contributing in a mood of devotion, in a mood of service, we find that higher purpose will calm the lower thoughts. As long as you're focusing on collecting and consuming, then we'll always be looking who has more than me, who is consuming more than me, and that will keep us agitated. But if you're focusing on connecting and contributing, each one of us can do that according to our capacity, and we all can find fulfillment in our life. And that way, when we have a focus, when we have a purpose, that will order our thoughts better. And this way, go ahead. Can you go ahead now? We can tap, thoughts can be our inner power. All of us, right now, we can think of things that we can do better. We can stop doing certain things which we shouldn't be doing. We can start doing certain things which we know are good for us. But if we learn to tap our thoughts properly, we can all do so much more. We can all become better human beings and do better things. And how much good we can do, we don't know that. Discovering how much good we can do when we learn to pull ourselves together, when we learn to harness our thoughts, discovering that can be our life's greatest adventure. Life's adventure is not necessarily going into a helicopter and jumping off from there and feeling the thrill of the wind through our eye. Yes, that's fine, sometimes. But that's just occasional. Our life can become an enduring adventure when we see that our existence becomes meaningful, valuable. And if we pull our act together, each one of us can do more, can become better, do more, and discovering how much more we can do, how much better we can become. That is our life's adventure. That is the time when we tap the power of our thoughts and we bring happiness to ourselves and bring happiness to the world. I'll summarize. I spoke today on the topic of thinking about thinking. How our thoughts can make or mar us. I started by talking about how we are sometimes wise and sometimes otherwise. And why is that? Because our thoughts can go against us at times. And because we have enormous technological progress, so we have controlled machines but uncontrolled minds. We have progress and yet we have distress. Technology has given us the outer power, but we need spirituality to gain inner power. Otherwise, that outer power will work against us and against the world. So what is spirituality? Helps us make sense of our inner world. Talk about 3-level model of the self. Does anyone remember 3 levels? Body,
soul.
body, mind, soul. Thank you. And that is like your comparison of hardware, software, and user. Thank you. And then we talked about how thoughts grow. The 3 P's in that. Do you remember the 3 P's? Perceive, then process, pursue. Yeah, we perceive with our body, with our senses. We process in our mind, and then we pursue with our intention, with our soul. We decide to pursue. So then we discussed how these 3 can be done in a healthy way. So in today's world, we have hundreds of stimuli to perceive through social media, and when we get overwhelmed, we can't perceive in a proper way. So the ad industry shows us all the things that we don't have and keeps us dissatisfied. So we are anxious about staying in touch with the world, but we lose touch with ourselves. So to deal with pursue properly, regulation. Regulation means don't take in so much. Have time for yourself. Disconnect from the world to reconnect with yourself. Best way to deal with temptation is to not deal with temptation. The second was for processing. I talked about we process better by education. So I talked about REP, REP, regulation, education. So education means we understand that our thoughts have no power till we give them our thought. They're like pop-ups only when we pay attention to them, they grow. So to the extent we focus on something purposeful, if we connect with spiritual reality and our consciousness expands to become like an ocean, then even if stray thoughts come in, we can't shut off the whole world. We will have to perceive it. But if our consciousness is like an ocean, then the world's perceptions are like rivers coming into the ocean. They won't disturb us much. And that's a process means to also understand that even if bad things happen, first thing, processing I talked about it, expand the consciousness. Second is live in the present. That don't catastrophize problems. And third I talked about even when things are going wrong, the universe moves purposefully. Even when bad things are happening, good can come out of the bad. And then at last was pursue. The world teaches us that we will find happiness through consuming and collecting. But the deepest happiness comes through connecting and contributing. So when we focus on that, then we'll find that we all can become better human beings and we can do better things. How much better? Discovering that can be our life's greatest adventure. Thank you very much. Do we have a few minutes for questions?
Yeah, are there any questions? So, this is your chance. Of course, Chaitanya Charan, I'm sure, is going to be here for a while as well. So, but please don't feel shy. If you have a question and you ask a question, the others can also benefit from your questions.
Thanks for the talk. I have a question. What happens when sometimes I find myself how do I pull myself out of that overthinking? Like when you're already in that troubled mind.
So if you are overthinking, what can you do about to stop that? The one way to slow our thoughts is to articulate them. Articulate means just verbalize them. As long as thoughts are going on inside the head, they're so close that we can't distance ourselves from them, we can't perceive. For example, we feel very angry with somebody has hurt us. And then, we just go and beat up that person. Civilized human beings, we cannot do that. The thought is going on. So many times, when we just try to articulate what we are saying, the absurdity of what we are thinking comes out. No, I will not do that. So what happens? basically the mind is here, the body is here, the soul is here. So when we caught in our thoughts, we're caught at the level of the mind, overthinking happens at the level of the mind. The way to stop overthinking is to get out of the mind. There are two ways to get out of the mind. One is go down to the level of the body, the other is to go up to the level of the soul. So go down to the level of the body means that when we start articulating, we are doing a physical action. Articulation is a physical action. And articulation action itself disconnects us, or at least interrupts the train of thoughts that is barreling in our consciousness. Similarly, deep breathing. Just focus on your breathing and start breathing deep. That, what it does is gets our thoughts out of it. Similarly, if we have some sacred image, then just look at the sacred image and start describing it in your own words. So look at the details, see what is there. So what happens by that is, get your thoughts out of your head. So one way is to go down at the physical level. The other way is to go up to the spiritual level. It means if we have a habit of having done some meditation, or say we had this mantra chanting here. So now if we have done that, then then we have the habit of doing that, we can rise up. When we rise above, we'll find that thoughts will be there, we don't have to get involved. So basically, go down or go up. Get out of the mind. That's key for stopping overthinking. But this is more of a short-term measure, an emergency measure. But more important thing is to put something behind us, we have to put something ahead of us. That means, think of what is it that we want to do with our life. We think a lot of what to do in our life. Okay, in the morning I'll do this, afternoon I'll do this, I'll do this. But think of what to do with our life. Means, what is it that one day we are all going to die? When I am going to die, do I want to think that I wasted so much of my time and emotion and energy just resenting this thing, or feeling sorry for myself about that? But we all can make a meaningful contribution. You can start small, but put something ahead. Something which you can do. I talk about connection and contribution. Think of what you can do for someone else. Just some small thing that you can do for someone else. That will get us out of it. If we put something ahead of us, then putting that negativity behind us becomes much easier. Thank you.
It's actually not a question. It's not a question. Hi. It's about what you said, connecting and contributing. Well, we're here from Sydney. We're called the Ocean Action Pod, and we're here to connect and contribute to a healthier ocean. And we would love to invite each and every one of you to come and see us at the showgrounds to learn more about the deep trouble that the ocean is in and what you can do on a daily basis to help our oceans get out of that big, deep trouble that we have caused it. We're also going to be at Merriweather Beach. For the kids especially, we've got ocean-friendly beach games, but the parents are more than welcome to join in. And we'll be there from 10 to 3 on tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is my partner, who also works on the pod, and his name's Sharon.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to that, following from what you have been talking to us about how disconnected we often are from the world that we live in, not nature, and in the case of the ocean, many of you might realize, but I think it's about 70% of our breath is taken from the actual ocean. So in terms of being connected with nature, I think we can do a lot of learning. Thank you for tonight.
All the best for your novel endeavors.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for that. I think what we'll do is we'll stop here now, and if any of you have further questions, Chaitanya Charan is here, so please come up and you can speak with him. Just one announcement, of course, Chaitanya Charan was mentioning how to regulate our thoughts and regulate the stimuli. So he mentioned if you go to a farm, so please feel welcome to come to New Gokula farm. And there is great stimuli, very peaceful, calming stimuli, so you can always come. We have some flyers there, it's just an hour away from here. And also another thing is Chaitanya Charan's once again got all his lovely books. And I personally like many of your books. And is there a new one this year?
Yeah.
There are many new here, and there are many new ones. Sorry?
Just a couple of
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So this is, I talked about the book Bhagavad Gita. So what this is 365 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita.
Sorry, just 1 second.
So many of the
Can you please
thoughts that
just
is on
give us
this
2 minutes? Yeah.
the quotes from the Gita. Then I talked about consciousness and soul. So there's this book called Reincarnation. There are about 25 cases of small children who remember their past lives and common questions. If we have lived before, why can't we remember that? What happens after we die? All those are answered in this book. And this is Gita for daily enrichment. There are 365 reflections, one for each day of the year. You could read these and you could have some spiritual boost for yourself. Educate yourself and process your mind better. And then this is Energy, your sutra for positive thinking. Especially if you would like to learn how to be optimistic and yet be realistic with the grounding of spiritual knowledge. That's explained in this book. So all these are available. And I also have a couple of online websites if you'd like to subscribe. Can you just go to the next slide? So I have a website called Gita Daily where I write every day. That's okay. Gita Daily where I write every day 300 word article. You can subscribe for that and you get some spiritual wisdom into that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're very, very grateful for Chaitanya Charan to have come here. And he's traveling a lot, and it's a special trip coming all the way from Sydney. So we're very, very grateful to you. Thank you very much. And we have a festival happening on Monday. So it's the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, who actually propagated the Kirtan movement. So we're having a celebration in the evening.